Okay. So today's prophetic word is going to be introduction to disrupting life cycles, aka. So this is going to be an introduction, aka. This is going to be the beginning, of a series that we are going to do, aka. So a series is, I will be making multiple prophetic word videos on this one topic, aka. So the one topic is, aka, that we're going to be discussing is disrupting life cycles, aka. So we're going to be talking about life cycles, what it is and what it means to disrupt them, to stop cycles, that are going on in our life. Cycles, unhealthy cycles that we are participating in, aka disrupting life cycles, aka. And we are in particular talking about the unhealthy life cycles, that we may be in and that we are experiencing, aka. Okay, so first, if we're going to talk about cycles, we need to know what a cycle is. The definition of a cycle is a series of events that are regularly repeated in the same order. A cycle is a series of events that are regularly repeated in the same order, aka. So it is a pattern, aka. A cycle is a pattern. A pattern of doing something over and over and over the same way, aka. It is walking in the same way, talking in the same way, behaving in the same way. Living in the same way. So it's a cycle. Okay. So we're going to get a different and more fresh perspective on it. Okay. As I was sitting with the Lord last night, okay, God was explaining to me that, not everything we deal with is ours. And I was like, Lord, what you talking about? You see, I was reading the Bible. Okay. And God just spoke to me. He said, not everything we deal with is ours. And I was like, what? So God said, right. I said, get a pen, get a piece of paper. Okay. And write. I said. So as I obeyed the Lord's instructions, God gave me that not everything that we deal with is ours. So what are we talking about here? And God began to explain to me that sometimes we are dealing with the sins of our forefathers. I'll say it again. Sometimes we are dealing with the sins of our forefathers. So who is our forefathers? Our ancestors, those who came before us, those who was born before us. Okay. Our forefathers would be basically our family members. But then, in those times, God spoke and said forefathers, because God doesn't speak how we speak. So in turn, God is talking about our family members. So not everything we deal with on a daily, in our family, in our lives, is ours. Sometimes we are dealing with the sins of our forefathers, our ancestors, those who came before us, who was born before us. Okay. So as I was sitting with the Lord, I'm like, okay, God, I can understand that concept, but I need an example. I need to be better able to explain this. Okay. So God gave me an example of what this would look like. So an example of what it looks like is, this is what it looks like. Okay, look, we starting from scratch. Okay. The paper is playing right now. Okay. God getting ready to paint the canvas. Okay. So it looks like this. God calls and chooses one person out of a generation. God calls and chooses one person out of a generation. So God chooses. And that's why people who are doing the will and the purpose of God are sometimes called or considered as the chosen one. So God calls and chooses one person out of a generation. He chooses a chosen one. And a chosen one is handpicked by God. A chosen one is handpicked by God to break generational curses in their bloodline. A chosen one is handpicked by God to break generational curses in their bloodline, in their family. Hey, so when you hear someone speaking of your bloodline, and I say, we know that to be considered family, hey, it means to be related by blood. And I say, we are all connected as family, hey, because of our blood. Hey, I know this my cousin because she got the same DNA as me. I know this my brother. I know this my sister. I know this my uncle. I know this my grandma, my grandpa. Hey, because they got the same DNA and blood as me. I say. Hey, so we are all related by blood. But God chooses one person out of that lineage, out of that family. He chooses one to break generational curses in their bloodline, in their family. Hey, it says in Matthew chapter 22, verse 14, for many are called, but few are chosen. For many are called, but few are chosen. Okay. So what does this mean? So God calls this individual. Okay. So look, we're talking about it right now. God calls this individual. But we have to understand that not everybody gives God a yes. Hey! I say. We have to understand, hey, that not everybody that God calls gives God a yes. Hey! So you say, how so? Okay. God wanted me to read Matthew chapter 22. Hey! And I'll just read a couple of verses. We're going to start at verse 2 through 10. Okay. And this is the parable of the wedding feast. Okay. So I'll read it first. Okay. And then I'll explain what's going on. Okay. So in Matthew chapter 22, and we're starting at verse 2, it says, the king of heaven may be compared to a king who gave a wedding feast for his son and sent his servants to call those who were invited to the wedding feast, but they would not come. Again, he sent other servants, saying, tell those who are invited, see, I have prepared my dinner, my oxen and my fat calves have been slaughtered, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding feast. But they paid no attention and went off, one to his farm, another to his business, while the rest seized his servants, treated them shamefully, and killed them. The king was angry, and he sent his troops and destroyed those murderers and burned their city. Then he said to his servants, the wedding feast is ready, but those invited were not worthy. Go therefore to the main roads and invite to the wedding feast as many as you find. And those servants went out into the roads and gathered all whom they found, both bad and good. So the wedding hall was filled with guests. Okay. So, okay. I said, what happens here is Jesus is having a feast. Okay. And he's prepared a meal. Hey. And he has sent out an invitation. And I say, and he calling for people. Okay. Individually calling people. RKA. RSVP. RKA. He giving everybody RSVP. An invitation. If we putting it in today's word, he has sent the invitation and he inviting them, RKA, to come and feast with him and sit with him and sup with him and get to know him and talk amongst him. Hey! To build a relationship with him, to be in his presence. But, so he said, I have everything prepared. It says in Matthew 22, verse 5, but they paid no attention and went off, one to his farm, another to his business, while the rest seized his servants, treated them shamefully, and killed them. So, God done sent out his invitation. He done sent the servants out. Hey! Jesus is inviting you to the feast. Jesus is inviting you to the feast. Hey! But the people he's sending out, they getting treated shamefully. They getting killed. They getting seized. Okay. So how does this connect with the word that we are doing today? Hey! You see, God extended an invite for those to come and eat with him. Hey! So God calling us. Hey! It's an analogy for God calling us. This parable, AKA, this parable is an analogy of how God calls us. Hey! You see, God has extended an invite for those to come and eat and feast with him. Hey! But in the parable, I say, everybody was busy. Okay. Some was busy with the cares of the world, their jobs, their parents, their kids, their careers, okay, etc. Okay. They just, okay, much like us in today's society. Hey, I can't come. I'm busy, Lord. Hey, I can't do it. Okay, I say. Hey, I can't come. I'm busy. I can't do that. I got too much on my plate. I said. But see, other times, not only sometimes are they busy, but other times it can be fear. Hey, some people don't answer the call because of fear. Hey, because of rejection. Hey. It can be because of fear of man. Okay. You see in the Bible, hey, it talks about how God had given Saul an instruction, hey, to strike down all the Amalekites and spare no one. But Saul spared the king. In turn, God is angry with Saul, hey, and tears the kingdom of Israel from him. He was reigning as king at the time. Hey, but his disobedience to God's instruction got his opportunity to reign as king taken away from him. You see, sometimes it could be fear of man. God says, kill all the Amalekites, spare no one. But Saul spared the king and also some of the animals. So in 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 24, Saul is speaking with Samuel because now God has sent Samuel, hey, to go talk to Saul about why you didn't do what I told you to do. Hey. So in 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 24, it says, then Saul admitted to Samuel, yes, I have sinned. I have disobeyed your instructions and the Lord's command, for I was afraid of the people and did what they demanded. Hey! So not only sometimes are people too busy, sometimes it's fear. Sometimes it's fear of rejection. Sometimes it's fear of man. Sometimes it's wanting to fit in. Hey! Listening to the crowd. Hey! Yearning to feel a sense of belonging. I say. not wanting to be outcast. Hey! But you see, at other times, sometimes people do say yes. You see, this thing, it's very complex. Hey! Sometimes people do say yes. But when they start to see and experience the weight, the responsibility, they shrink. They give up. They run from God. Hey! In the Bible, it talks about Jonah. Jonah ran from his call in God. When God was calling him, when God was calling Jonah, Jonah ends up in the belly of a whale for 3 days. And not just Jonah. Moses asked God to pick someone else because he had a speech impediment. My speech. I said, God, can you pick somebody else? I don't speak eloquent enough. So Jonah, he runs from God. And ends up in the belly of a whale for 3 days. Moses asked God to pick someone else because he had a speech impediment. When God called Jeremiah was like, Lord, I'm just a youth. I'm just a youth. I'm just a kid. Can you call somebody else? Can you please call somebody else? You see, we have to understand this is heavy. The call of God is heavy. It's big business. It's big business. Serious business. God's business. And we have to understand that when you are saying yes to God, you are saying no to the world. We have to understand that when you are saying yes to God, you are saying no to the world. So getting back into things, getting back to the example. We back to the bloodline. God building the foundation. Now we back to the example. Of how God calls the one out of the generation. So we're here. The person, so God has called this person, to break generational curses. Now we're talking about this one person, that God called that was before you. So the person before you basically says no because they reject the call of the Lord. The person before you basically says no because they reject the call of the Lord. They don't answer it. They don't do it. To not do what God is calling you to do is basically rejecting the call of the Lord. So they don't answer it. They don't do it. So now your family, your bloodline is still in bondage, still dealing with all these curses, this dysfunction, this poverty, etc. Everybody's bloodline looks different. The things that's traveling in down the bloodline of families are different. Sometimes we see the same things. I noticed that. I seen that before. I said, and sometimes we see stuff and we like, what in the world? So now your family, your bloodline is still in bondage, still dealing with all these curses, this dysfunction, poverty, etc., or whatever it looks like for you and your bloodline. And now They bear children and have kids. Okay. So first, look, okay, we was talking about this generation right here. Okay. But now they done had kids. I say so everything that they was dealing with. Now they done had kids. Okay. So they got the ones under them. These the kids. This the first generation. I say. So now they bear children and they have kids, and it's a new generation. We got all these babies. Okay. And the Bible says in Hebrews chapter 13, verse 8, it says, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday. Okay. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forevermore. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forevermore, which means he doesn't change. Which means he doesn't change. So if he doesn't change, it means his plans doesn't change. So if he had a plan for the first generation, excuse me, okay, I want you to break these generational curses. And they don't do it. Okay. We know that God is the same always, no matter what generation it is. So he had that plan. But just because you didn't do it, okay, doesn't mean that his plan changed, okay. So now, the car that was on the first generation, and I say it wasn't broken. Hey, so now we are on the second generation. So now we're on your generation. We're going to talk about the second generation. We talked about the first generation, the ones before us. Now we're talking about the second generation, the one on the bottom, the kids. Okay. So now it's your generation, and you're born. Hey! And God is still looking for that one person, that chosen one. Y'all remember the chosen one we talked about? Hey! That one person, that chosen one, who'll say, yes, Lord, I'll do it. I'll let you use me to break generational curses. Yes, Lord, I'll do it. I'll let you use me to break generational curses. That's what God is looking for. Okay. You give God a yes. So now God has chosen you. And you're not only dealing with the things in your generation. Hey, so listen, okay, look, those before us, okay, it was things that they went through and things that they experienced and things that they lived through and things that they suffered through. Hey, so not only are you dealing with what's going on in your generation, hey, because our generation is a little more wilder, a little more, I say a little more different. The older folks before us be like, what? It was not like that in our days. What is going on? Hey! So not only are you dealing with the things in your generation, but also all the things that was passed down to you, that was transferred to you. You see those before you. Okay, we on the top level. Remember, it wasn't broken. I say the curses wasn't broken. None of what they were going through was broken. Okay. So in turn, there's a ripple effect. It goes down the bloodline. And if everything just been falling. If it's 10 levels, whatever the first level don't do, the second level get. Whatever the second level don't do, the third level get. Do you know what all we do in a lifetime? And if it's not dealt with, and if it's not broken, and it's continuously being passed down, yet and still it's continuously being built upon, because whatever my forefathers didn't do, I might have done. And then whatever I didn't do, then my nephew might do. Hey! So the weight of the one. So now God has chosen you. Not only are you dealing with the things in your generation, but also all the things that were passed down to you through those who dropped the ball. Through those who dropped the ball, who did not answer the call. Yay. And God says that's the reason you are fighting and going through all of that. Hey, that's the reason you're fighting and going through all of that. That's the reason you fighting and going through all that hell. Hey, some of it is your responsibility. A lot of it could be could be your responsibility. Some of it you done. Hey, some of that you responsible for. Hey, you did do that. You did say that. I said you play a part in it as well. We ain't just talking about them. We including ourselves in. Hey, I wasn't always righteous. I said. Okay. So that's the reason you're fighting and going through all that hell. Okay. Now, I'm going to make an important point, okay, but we're going to do a part 2.